Macon, Georgia is a very rare American city because it grew out of an ancient Native American civilization and an early American frontier fort. From the prehistoric mounds found at the Ocmulgee National Monument to the highest hill of the sacred Old Fields, right here atop Fort Hill at Macon's birthplace, historic Fort Hawkins. In 1806, across the Ocmulgee River was the Muskogee Creek Nation. Fort Hawkins was poised on the American frontier, overlooking the sacred ground of the Muskogee Creek Nation. By 1823, the city of Macon had blossomed across the river, a city in a park, a city full of surprises with a diverse cultural heritage found nowhere else in America, right here in Macon, Georgia. And one of the secrets is that music has always been part of our cultural heritage. From the river cane flute around the Indian Mounds, to the fiddling and banjo playing here at the fort, to the great originators in American music that have come out of Macon, Georgia, like 19th century poet and even more renowned musician Sidney Lanier. He had taught himself to play the flute, piano, organ, violin, banjo, guitar without any formal instruction, and would play first flute in the Second Symphony in America in Baltimore for the last 7 years of his life. His birthplace in Macon, the Sidney Lanier Cottage, is a landmark of American music today, a pioneer not only in American music, but in a new world art form called Philharmonic music. But Macon continued to give the world a new type of music. We're the home of Little Richard. Everyone knows he's the architect of rock and roll. How did Macon, Georgia birth Sidney Lanier and Little Richard? What an amazing cultural heritage. You could say we're the home of soul music because this is the home of Otis Redding, the king of soul for all times. It is documented that Memphis, Muscle Shoals, and Macon, Georgia were the home of soul music. How about what they call Southern rock? Southern rock, the Allman Brothers Band called Macon home, and they helped birth the Capricorn Studios, which gave us even more music out of Macon and out of the South. But Macon is more than just rock and roll. We've got classical heroes from Macon, like today, world's class violinist Bobby McDuffie. Even more amazing, an African-American son of Macon, Alan Evans, is one of the leading tenors on the European opera circuit, lives in Switzerland, comes home to Macon periodically to do workshops on opera for the local school children. Macon continues to give music to the world, and it's all in our culture. Whether you go to the Ocmulgee National Monument or to Grant's Lounge, the Lanier Cottage, the Tubman Museum, no matter where you go, you will be hearing this magical music of Macon. I always like to think our musical heritage did begin in prehistoric times, and it continues to the next concert in town. Macon is still alive with music. We're proud that James Brown called us home. What did he give the world? A whole funky type of soul music. James Brown called Macon home. It might surprise you that alternative rock and roll had two of the members of REM grow up in Macon. Mike Mills, the bass player of REM, was star student his senior year at Northeast High School and president of the band club. In fact,